The emergency klaxons had finally stopped their incessant wailing, leaving behind a ringing silence that felt almost as intrusive. Cassandra Weir stood at the observation window of Harmonia's medical bay, her reflection ghostly against the backdrop of endless stars. She tucked a loose strand of auburn hair behind her ear and sighed, watching her breath momentarily fog the reinforced glass. "You're still here," the voice belonged to Naomi Patel, the ship's chief physician and Cassandra's closest friend aboard the research vessel. "It's been 14 hours, Cass. Even the emergency response team has gone to bed." Cassandra didn't turn away from the window. "There's something about him, Naomi, something I can't explain." "Him?" Naomi stepped beside her, arms crossed defensively. "We don't even know if it has a gender concept compatible with ours. What we do know is that whatever life form was piloting that meteor vessel is unresponsive to every stimuli we've tried." Beyond the window lay Isolation Chamber 3, where a humanoid figure floated in a suspension field. Its skin was the deep blue-green of Earth's tropical waters, with iridescent patches that seemed to pulse ever so slightly like bioluminescent algae. Where a human would have hair, this being had tendrils that moved gently in the suspension fluid, each one tipped with what looked like tiny crystalline structures. "He responded to me," Cassandra whispered. "Your imagination responded to exhaustion," Naomi countered gently. "The neurological monitors haven't registered conscious activity since we brought it aboard. The collision with the meteor belt destroyed whatever propulsion technology its ship used. Even Franklin says the crystalline structure encasing its neural pathways is fractured beyond repair." Cassandra turned to her friend, eyes flashing. "Franklin is a xenobiologist, not a music therapist. I'm telling you, when I played my viola yesterday, I saw a pattern shift in the auxiliary monitor." "A glitch. We've been having system fluctuations since the rescue mission." "It wasn't a glitch," Cassandra insisted. "I've spent 6 years studying neurological responses to harmonic vibrations in comatose patients. I know what I saw." Naomi's expression softened. "Cass, I know you're still processing what happened on Europa Station. Not everyone can be saved." "This isn't about Europa." Cassandra cut her off, though they both knew it was at least partially a lie. 53 patients lost when the station's life support failed. 53 souls she couldn't help despite her specialized training in music therapy for neurological trauma. "This is about him. I'm calling him Thorn." "You named it." Naomi looked genuinely concerned now. "The crystalline structures on his tendrils, they look like thorns made of diamond," Cassandra explained. "And it feels wrong to keep calling him it when he's clearly sentient." Naomi checked her tablet and sighed. "Cass, I can't keep the isolation chamber dedicated to a hopeless case. Captain Winston wants to preserve the body in stasis for research once we reach Ganymede. The Council scientists will want to study it." "Give me 3 days," Cassandra pleaded. "Just 3 days before you put him in stasis. Please, Naomi." Perhaps it was the desperation in her voice, or the memory of all they'd been through together since the Europa disaster, but Naomi relented. 72 hours, not a minute more, and I need hourly documentation of any supposed response. Verifiable data, not gut feelings. After Naomi left, Cassandra pressed her palm against the cold glass. "I hear you, Thorn," she whispered, "even if no one else does." The following morning, Cassandra arrived at the medical bay carrying her viola case and a small device she'd borrowed from the acoustics lab. She'd spent half the night modifying the sonic resonance scanner to detect vibrations in frequencies beyond human hearing. "What's all this?" asked Julian, the medical tech on duty. "Music therapy," Cassandra replied, setting up her equipment beside Thorn's suspension field. "I need to log into Isolation 3. Julian looked skeptical. "Chief Patel said you'd be conducting some unconventional tests. I didn't realize we were holding a concert." "Research has shown that stringed instruments produce harmonic overtones that can stimulate neural pathways in ways electronic sounds can't," she explained, adjusting the modified scanner. "I've had success with human coma patients. I'd like to try similar techniques here. On an alien with completely unknown neurophysiology. On a being whose brain appears to have specialized crystalline structures that might respond to vibrational frequencies," she corrected. "Now, are you going to let me in, or do I need to call Naomi?" Minutes later, Cassandra sat beside the suspension field, her viola resting against her shoulder. The chamber was eerily quiet except for the soft hum of the medical equipment. Thorn floated motionless, his tendrils drifting slightly in the gravitational field. She began with Bach, her go-to for human patients. The rich tones filled the chamber, but the neural activity monitor remained unchanged. She tried Mozart, then some contemporary compositions, but nothing provoked a response. After an hour, Julian poked his head in. "Any luck?" Not yet, she admitted, rolling her shoulders to release the tension. But I've only explored Earth music so far. Julian seemed ready to suggest she give up, but something in her expression must have dissuaded him. Your shift ends in 7 hours. I'll bring you some coffee. When he left, Cassandra closed her eyes and tried to imagine what music might sound like to a being from another world. What harmonies would evolve on a planet with different atmospheric conditions, different cultural foundations. She positioned her bow and began to play a melody of her own composition, something she'd written after the Europa tragedy. It was discordant in places, with unexpected shifts in tempo and tone, mimicking the unpredictability of grief and hope. As the last note faded, she looked up at the monitor. Nothing. Frustrated, she set down her viola and approached the suspension field. I know you're in there, Thorn, she whispered. I just need to find the right frequency to reach you. On impulse, she touched one of the field's control nodes, adjusting the permeability settings to allow sound waves to pass through more directly. Then she reached out and gently tapped one of the crystalline thorns at the end of a tendril. It produced a clear bell-like tone that seemed to hang in the air. Cassandra's breath caught. She tapped another thorn, then another, discovering that each produced a slightly different pitch. Together, they formed a strange, alien scale unlike anything in Earth's musical tradition. Her hands trembling with excitement, she picked up her viola and began to mimic the scale, playing the thorn's native tones in sequence. On the third repetition, the monitor beeped. A small spike of activity had registered in what Franklin believed was Thorn's neural center. That's it, she whispered, heart racing. That's your language. For the next 6 hours, Cassandra played variations based on the Thorn scale, documenting each neural response. Sometimes there was nothing, but other times, when she hit exactly the right progression, the monitor would register brief flickers of activity. By the time Naomi arrived for evening rounds, Cassandra had filled pages with musical notations and corresponding neural patterns. You look terrible, Naomi observed, but strangely triumphant. Look at this, Cassandra thrust her tablet toward her friend. These patterns aren't random, they're responses to specific harmonic progressions, a language of sound. Naomi studied the data, her skepticism visibly wavering. This is unexpected. It's communication, Cassandra insisted. Primitive and limited but real, his species must use some form of sonic communication, perhaps through those crystalline structures. Even if you're right, Cass, he's still catastrophically injured. These responses could be nothing more than autonomic reflexes, like a human patient's eyes tracking movement while still deeply comatose. Or they could be the first steps toward bringing him back. Cassandra placed her hand near the field, not quite touching it. I need more time. Naomi was quiet for a long moment. The council expects us at Ganymede in 9 days. That's all the time I can give you, not just 3 days, but all 9 after that. She didn't need to finish the sentence. After that, Thorn would become a specimen in some laboratory, conscious or not. I'll make it count, Cassandra promised. That night, she slept in the isolation chamber, her viola beside her. Just before drifting off, she thought she saw one of Thorn's tendrils move slightly, reaching toward the crystalline scale she'd written out on her tablet. But perhaps that was just a dream, born of hope and the music still echoing in her mind. A symphony only she and Thorn could hear. 5 days had passed since Cassandra's breakthrough with Thorn. The isolation chamber had transformed from sterile medical space into something resembling a sound laboratory. Crystalline structures modeled after Thorn's thorns hung from thin wires, creating a three-dimensional scale that Cassandra could play like an instrument. The walls were covered with spectrograms and neural response charts, a visual diary of her progress. She'd slept perhaps 12 hours total in those 5 days, catching moments of rest on the small cot she'd dragged in from storage. Naomi brought her meals, Julian kept the coffee coming, and even Captain Winston had stopped by to observe her unorthodox methods with cautious interest. Look at this pattern, Cassandra explained to Naomi, pointing to the monitor. When I play this sequence, what I'm calling his home chord, his neural activity spikes in this region. The patterns are definitely stronger than before, Naomi admitted, studying the readouts. But I'm still not seeing evidence of consciousness. Consciousness might work differently for his species. These could be thoughts, memories. Cassandra trailed off, struck by a new idea. She picked up her viola and played the home chord again, then seamlessly transitioned into a minor variation she hadn't tried before. The monitor beeped urgently. Thorn's tendrils moved, more deliberately than the subtle drifts they'd observed previously. That's new, Naomi whispered. Before Cassandra could respond, the ship's communication system activated. Medical Bay, came the voice of Ensign Robles from the bridge. We've got an unidentified vessel approaching rapidly, non-standard configuration not responding to hails. Naomi's expression tightened. Any hostile indicators? Negative, but it's on an intercept course. Captain wants all department heads on the bridge immediately. On my way, Naomi turned to Cassandra. Stay here, continue your work, but be ready to secure the chamber if we go to alert status. After Naomi left, Cassandra continued playing variations on the new chord progression. Each time, Thorne's response grew slightly stronger. Whatever she had stumbled upon, it clearly held significance. An hour later, the lab door hissed open. Cassandra turned, expecting Naomi, but instead found herself facing a tall, slender figure clad in what appeared to be a form-fitting encounter suit. The helmet was opaque, giving no glimpse of the face within, but the proportions suggested a being similar to Thorne, humanoid but distinctly alien. Cassandra rose slowly, her viola bow still in hand. Who are you? How did you get in here? The figure tilted its head, studying her with unsettling intensity. After a moment, it raised a six-fingered hand to its helmet. There was a soft hiss as the seal released and the front panel retracted. The face revealed was similar to Thorne's, the same blue-green skin, though several shades lighter, with phosphorescent markings tracing elegant patterns across high cheekbones. Where Thorne had tendrils, this being had what resembled hair, but crystallized into flexible strands that caught the light like polished opal. I am Evren, the alien said, their voice a melodic sound that seemed to originate not from a throat but from the crystalline structures vibrating along their jaw. I have come for Thorne. Cassandra's heart raced. You know him, you can speak our language. I am a linguist. Understanding new communication forms is my purpose. Evren moved toward the suspension field, their movements fluid and graceful. We received the distress pulse from his vessel before it went silent. I have been searching for 27 rotations. He's been badly injured, Cassandra explained, setting down her instrument. We found him after his ship collided with a meteor cluster. His neural pathways seem damaged, but I've been able to establish some communication through harmonic resonance. Evren looked at her with new interest. You are a sound speaker. A music therapist, she corrected. I work with neural patterns and acoustic resonance to reach patients who can't communicate conventionally. The alien extended a hand toward her setup of suspended crystals. May I? At Cassandra's nod, Evren gently tapped one crystal, then another, creating a complex sequence of tones. Almost immediately, Thorne's monitor showed increased activity, and several tendrils moved in what appeared to be a deliberate pattern. He recognizes you, Cassandra whispered. As I recognize him, Evren's expression was difficult to read, but their voice carried unmistakable emotion. We are connected, your word might be bonded. Your partners. More than your language can express, we are resonance matched. Our neural patterns are harmonically aligned. Evren touched the suspension field, a gesture of such longing that Cassandra felt her throat tighten with empathy. The medical bay doors slid open again. This time it was Captain Winston, flanked by two security officers. Naomi entered just behind them, looking both flustered and apologetic. I see our visitor found their way here despite our agreement, the captain said evenly. Evren turned. I requested to see Thorne immediately upon boarding. Time is critical. And I explained that we needed to establish protocols first, Winston replied, his tone firm but not hostile. Ms. Weir, are you all right? I'm fine, Cassandra assured him. Evren is Thorne's partner, they have a bond, and they were able to communicate with him just now more effectively than anything I've managed so far. Winston's expression softened slightly. That's promising, but doesn't change the fact that we have procedures. Your procedures are killing him, Evren interrupted, their crystalline hair vibrating with intensity. Each rotation in this state damages his resonance patterns further. The suspension field you use is incompatible with our neural structure. Naomi stepped forward. Our scans indicated it was the safest option for maintaining his condition. Maintaining, yes, healing, no. Evren turned back to Cassandra. Your sound speaking has preserved his core patterns, but it cannot restore what is broken. He needs to be returned to our vessel where proper resonance therapy can be applied. Winston shook his head. I'm afraid that's not possible. Under Interstellar Research Protocol 47B, we're required to. Please, Evren's voice took on a quality that seemed to vibrate through Cassandra's chest. If your bonded one was fatting, would you not defy any protocol to save them? The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Winston looked uncomfortable but unmoved. I sympathize, but... I'll go with them, Cassandra said suddenly. All eyes turned to her. I'll accompany Thorne and Evren to their vessel, observe the treatment, and document everything for our records. That should satisfy Protocol 47B while giving Thorn his best chance. Absolutely not, Naomi protested. We have no idea if their environment is compatible with human physiology. Everin is breathing our air, Cassandra pointed out, and they've clearly studied us enough to communicate effectively. Our atmospheric requirements are similar, Everin confirmed. My encounter suit was merely a precaution against unknown pathogens. Your presence would be acceptable. Winston considered for a long moment. I'll need to consult with Earth Command. In the meantime, Everin may remain here with Thorn under supervision. Ms. Weir, a word in private, please. In the corridor outside, Winston fixed Cassandra with a stern look. Do you have any idea what you're volunteering for? We know nothing about these beings. I know Thorn responds to sound in structured patterns. I know Everin came across space to find him. I know that if we don't do something, he'll die. She met the captain's gaze steadily. And I know that I failed 53 patients on Europa Station. I won't fail this one if I can help it. Winston's expression softened slightly. This isn't like Europa, Cassandra. That wasn't your fault. Maybe not, but this is my choice. She glanced back toward the medical bay. Besides, think of what we might learn. First contact with a species that communicates through harmonic resonance, it could revolutionize our understanding of xenobiology. Always the scientist, Winston sighed. I'll speak with command, but no promises. 3 hours later, Cassandra found herself alone with Everin in the isolation chamber. Security remained posted outside, but Naomi had convinced Winston that the alien posed no threat to Cassandra or the ship. These patterns, Everin said, examining Cassandra's charts, you decoded them without prior knowledge of our communication structures. Music is a universal language, Cassandra replied, adjusting one of the hanging crystals. Or so we like to believe on Earth. Sound waves obey the same physical laws throughout the universe. Yet the interpretation varies widely. Everin moved to stand beside her, close enough that Cassandra could feel a subtle vibration emanating from their being. What you call music, we call life thread, the resonance patterns that bind conscious beings to the fabric of existence. Cassandra felt a shiver of excitement. You mean sound isn't just how you communicate, it's fundamental to your physiology. As fundamental as your electrical nerve impulses. Everin reached out and gently corrected the position of a crystal. What you have created here is remarkable for one who does not share our nature, but incomplete. Show me how to complete it, Cassandra urged. Help me help him. Everin studied her with unblinking eyes that seemed to shift color slightly with each movement. Why do you care so deeply for one not of your kind? The question caught Cassandra off guard. She considered her answer carefully. Partly scientific curiosity, partly professional pride, but mostly because I know what it's like to be trapped in silence, unable to reach those around you. You have experienced neural isolation. Not physically, emotionally. Cassandra looked toward Thorn's floating form. After the Europa disaster, I shut down, stopped playing music, stopped connecting with people. It took me months to find my voice again. Everin was quiet for a moment, their crystalline hair shifting in patterns that seemed to reflect deep thought. Perhaps that is why he responds to you. Shared experience creates harmonious resonance even across species. Is that possible? Much is possible that neither of our kinds fully understands. Everin turned toward the suspended crystals. Come, I will teach you our healing harmonies. For the next several hours, Cassandra learned more about extraterrestrial acoustic physics than she had thought possible. Everin showed her how to arrange the crystals in specific geometric patterns, taught her chord progressions that made no sense in human musical theory but created beautiful, alien melodies. As they worked, Everin explained their relationship with Thorn, how they had met during a celestial alignment ceremony, their neural patterns instantly forming complementary harmonies. Among their people, such resonance matching was rare and sacred. He is expedition maker, Everin said with evident pride, seeking new resonance patterns in distant star systems. I am pattern weaver, preserving and interpreting what he discovers. You're explorers, Cassandra translated, scientists like us. Seekers, Everin corrected, the distinction matters. Together, they created a new arrangement of crystals and began playing a complex sequence Everin called the Remembrance Harmony. To Cassandra's astonishment, Thorn's monitor showed the strongest response yet, not just neural spikes but sustained patterns. Look, she exclaimed, that's almost like a conversation. It is conversation, Everin confirmed, their voice vibrating with emotion. He hears us, he remembers. As they continued playing, Cassandra found herself moving closer to Everin, their hands occasionally brushing as they reached for the same crystal. Each contact sent a strange, not unpleasant tingle through her fingers. By the time Naomi returned to check on them, Cassandra realized hours had passed in what felt like moments. "Any progress?" Naomi asked, eyeing the reconfigured chamber with professional curiosity. Before Cassandra could answer, Thorn's tendrils moved in a deliberate pattern, forming shapes that reminded Cassandra of musical notations. One reached out, pressing against the suspension field directly over the spot where Evren's hand rested. "He's reaching out," Cassandra whispered. "Naomi, he's conscious." Evren's crystalline hair pulsed with light. Not fully, but his core patterns are stabilizing. They turned to Cassandra, their expression intense. "What you have done, preserved enough for healing to be possible, but we must move quickly now, his resonance is fragile." Naomi checked the monitors. "His metabolic indicators are stronger but still critical. Have you heard from the captain about transfer authorization?" "Not yet," Cassandra replied, "but this proves Thorn needs their treatment. We have to convince Winston." As if summoned by her words, the captain's voice came through the communication system. "Medical Bay, I've just concluded my conference with Earth Command. Prepare for briefing in my ready room in 15 minutes." Cassandra looked at Evren, whose expression had become unreadable. "Whatever they've decided," she promised, "we'll find a way to save him." The alien inclined their head slightly. "In my language, we have a saying, when two resonance patterns align, no dissonance can separate them." Something in Evren's tone made Cassandra wonder if they were speaking only of Thorn, or if there was another harmony beginning to form, unexpected and uncharted, between species who had never before met.